Hello, my name is Aviva, and today I'm going to be answering some bookish would you rathers. I asked all my Instagram followers to send me in some prompts, and you guys definitely came through. So thank you so much to every single person who took the time to send something in, because without you guys, I wouldn't have been able to make this video. But either way, there were way too many responses for me to possibly get through all of them in today's video. So I'm going to try to get through as many as I can before I get tired of doing this. So let's not waste any time and just jump straight into it. So first up, someone said DNF multiple books in a row or have to wait 4 years for the next book in a series. And I would 100% choose to DNF multiple books in a row, because I feel like that is such a shorter commitment. Like, why would I want to wait 4 years or just like, spend a week or two just DNFing a bunch in a row and then be able to actually continue on with the series that I'm in the middle of. But happens to be, I feel like I would never even get myself into this situation, because if I knew that I was going to have to wait 4 years to continue on with the series, I never would have started in the first place. Like, I'm very careful before I get into a book to make sure to know if it's completed or not, or where we're at in the story and everything like that. So I would never actually get myself into this situation, but I do feel like DNFing multiple books is a better option of the two. Anyway, next up, someone said, secretly love a book everyone hates or secretly hate a book everyone loves. Hold on one second. Secretly love a book that nobody else likes or secretly hate a book that everyone else loves. First of all, I feel like take out the word secretly. I am not secret about my feelings on any books. Like, even if somebody absolutely loves a book, I will not mind saying that I didn't like it. I'll be like, the entire world might feel differently, but I felt this way. I have no issue doing that. And then also, if anyone hated a book, would I care to love it? No, I wouldn't really feel any weirdness towards either which way of this option. So I feel like I would choose both/neither, secretly loving a book that everyone hates or secretly hating a book that everyone loves. Honestly, it is hurting my brain a little bit, but I feel like I'm going to go with literally both/none, because I don't care to say my opinions on books, and I don't care if I love something that someone hates. I don't care if I hate something that someone loves. I'm really I don't know. I just don't feel that way. So we are going to skip over that one. Next, someone said fake dating or enemies to lovers. Okay, I feel like in theory, I would choose enemies to lovers, because I feel like it does have a better situation if it is done right. But happens to be very often, I feel like enemies to lovers doesn't end up actually being enemies to lovers. It ends up being something like, oh, it's always been you, or I secretly had feelings for you and I was just acting that way because I didn't think you felt the same, or something along those lines. And when it ends up being that way, I don't like enemies to lovers, and therefore I would choose fake dating over that. But if it was a true enemies to lovers, a fantasy enemies to lovers over a regular fake dating, I feel like I'd go with enemies to lovers. So my answer to this is that I'm going to go with fake dating as the safer option, with the exception of if it was a true enemies to lovers, and then I would have chosen that one. Does that make sense? I think it does. Anyway, next up, someone said reverse harem or stalker. And the thing is I'm pretty sure I've only read one of each of these scenarios. I just recently read my first ever reverse harem romance, and it went okay. It went better than expected, but it's definitely not gonna be my new favorite thing. And I had read one stalker romance. I read the Sinners duet by Sophie Lark, There Are No Saints, whatever it is. And I really, really loved that. So I feel like I would go with the stalker situation over reverse harem, because even though it is totally messed up to say this, I really do like the idea of the guy being absolutely obsessed with her to the point of having to stalk her and stuff like that. So stalker over reverse harem it is. Next, someone said always have to skip the first or always have to skip the last chapter. Ooh. That's a good one, because you know what? I happen to think that sometimes if you read the first chapter, you'll totally feel how the book is going to go. Sometimes I'm completely sucked in by the first chapter and I'm like, this is going to be a 5-star book. I already feel it. And then happens to be the last chapter, I feel is usually just an epilogue or whatever. It's already going good before the last chapter. The last chapter is the happy chapter. So I feel it might be more okay to skip the last chapter, because I feel the first chapter really, really is important to tell you the vibe of how this book is going to go. So I feel I rather skip the last chapter over the first one. I honestly, when I read that, I felt I was going to go backwards. I felt being oh yeah, who cares about the first chapter? I was going to go with the last, but then I thought it out while I was talking to you, and I really think that that's the better move. I'm going to skip the last chapter. That's the way I'm going to go. Anyway, next up, someone said, have unlimited books or live inside your favorite book. Whoa. Have unlimited books or live inside your favorite book. That is a really, really good one. Have unlimited books. So literally I can read for absolute ever or live inside my favorite book, but I'm guessing that I can never read again. Oh my goodness, I wouldn't know where to go with that one. I feel like my gut reaction is saying to go and live inside your favorite book, because that would just be a once in a lifetime experience. And even if I do have unlimited books, what if they're not good books? You know what I mean? Like, what if, like, it doesn't mean that I'm having unlimited 5-star books. I'm just having unlimited books. And I feel like living inside your favorite book might be the more fun move. So I'm gonna go with that one, but honestly, that was a really hard one, and I'm not sure if I made the right decision. Anyway, next up, someone said cartoon people on covers or real people. It's funny because if you asked me this a year ago, I would have said cartoon covers, but now I would 100% say real people on covers. I am not really bothered by real people on covers unless I don't like what the actual model looks like, or I don't think that the model is being depicted correctly for the, actual book. Like sometimes I'll see like a new adult book about high schoolers with an adult male man on the cover, like with like abs and everything like that. I'm like, it just, that doesn't represent the book whatsoever. And then real men on like the covers bother me. But happens to be, if it's like done really well, like there are some beautiful covers that I've seen that have like real, like, model people on it, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. So I'm gonna say real people on covers over cartoon people, because happens to be like I'm just not into the type of books that have cartoon covers anymore. Like I used to be, but I've grown out of that phase, and therefore I don't really vibe with those type of books anymore. So I'm going to pass on cartoon covers. So that is that. Next up, someone said only ever read 1 and 5-star books or only ever read 3-star books. I feel like I would easily go with reading 1 and 5 stars, because 3 stars is so meth. Having a bunch of 3 stars in a row can easily put me into a reading slump, because I'm feeling like everything is just so meh. I really don't care about it one way or another, because there's like some good stuff and then some bad stuff. But having like 5-star reads and then 1 star is here and there, like I feel like that's such a better move. Like that's such a better reading experience. So I'm gonna go with that one. Anyway, next up, someone said slow burn or hook up churn romance. 1000% I'm going with slow burn. First of all, I'm not a huge fan of when like 2 people hook up at the beginning of the book and then it turns into a romance. Like I just like a better buildup. Like I really like the idea of slow burns in the sense of like things just like get slowly built upon each other. Like I like when there are multiple interactions and all of a sudden the feelings are growing and you really get to see it on page, like how the relationship is going to develop. Like literally, like I am 100% like a slow burn person. So I'm not even like into hookups turned romance. So like this was like no question about it. I was going with slow burn. So yeah, that is that. Next up, someone said only read standalones or only read series. It's funny because if you asked me this a year ago, I feel like I would have said series, because I used to be very into reading like fantasy series, like back to back. Like I just loved the idea that I could live in a world for a very long time. But it happens to be now, like I just read romances all the time and like they're always standalones, and I really, really vibe with that. So I feel like I would go with only reading standalones over only reading series. But I do have an exception, because if you meant companion series, then I'm switching my answer and I'm going with series, because happens to be I am a massive fan of companion series. Like just the idea of like they're all standalone, so you technically don't have to read every single one of them if one of them like isn't like vibing with you, like you just don't like the synopsis. But I love the idea of like living in the same world and things growing on each other as you get later into the books. Like I love meeting all of the characters in the first book, and then all of a sudden we get a romance and we get a friend group and everything like that, and then throughout the rest of the companion series, all of a sudden the entire friend groups gets their own romance, and we get to see them all fall in love. But happens we also get to see all of the other characters, like the previous couples and then like the future couples. Like I just love companion series, so I'm going with companion series over standalones, but then I'm going with standalones over a regular series. Okay, that was long. Anyway, next up, someone said go to Terrasen or go to Valaris. That is a really good question, because happens to be if I had to choose between Throne of Glass or ACOTAR, I would easily choose Throne of Glass, but happens to be I do think that Valaris would be a more interesting place to actually visit, because it is just such a cool city. Like everything about Valaris is absolutely amazing. Like it is one of my favorite things about ACOTAR, like the idea of like them being in Valaris and them trying to like protect it and everything along the lines. Like I love Valaris over the idea of Terrasen, because I do feel like we haven't really seen a lot of Terrasen. Like the whole idea was like by the end of it we got Terrasen back, and then the rest of the story was going to continue off page, like after the ending of Throne of Glass. So I feel like I don't really know Terrasen that well, so I would definitely go with Valaris. I feel like this question, it should have been like, do I want to go to like Otterlin? Is that Otterlin's empire? Like Rifthold, do I want to go to Rifthold or do I want to go to Valaris? And the question there is 1000% Valaris. So yeah, that is that. I hope that I answered that. I feel like I didn't, but I'm just gonna move on. Anyway, Next up, someone said, read a pregnancy trope every month or only be able to buy one book per month. I absolutely hate the pregnancy trope, but I do feel like I rather have to read that once a month and just like, deal with it over only being able to buy one book per month. Because what am I going to do with just one book? Like, I'm just going to have to reread all the time, and I definitely don't want to do that. So I feel like it is a better move to just like, suffer through a bad book with a trope I don't like over not being able to get new books every month. So yeah, that is my answer. I don't even like thinking about that because honestly, it's like a bad move both ways. Anyway, next up, someone said, be stuck on a long plane ride without a book or a long car ride without a book. I feel like that is a good this or that in general, but happens to be, I get very car sick in like when I'm going in cars. Like I could hardly look at my phone when I'm in the car. So like I've never really even tried to read in a car because I just don't think it would really help with like my motion sickness. So I 100% would go with like, I need a book on a plane over needing a book in a car because I love reading on planes. It really like makes the time fly very easily for me. But I can't read in a car. So I don't know how to answer that one, but basically I'm going with needing a book on a plane over needing a book on a car. So yeah, that's my answer. Anyway, next up, someone said, be a best-selling author or be besties with your favorite author. And my answer to that is going to be a best-selling author. And you want to know why? Because it is because I do think that if I ended up being a best-selling author, I would have a better chance at actually meeting my favorite author and having the potential to become best friends with her over the idea of just being best friends with like my favorite author. I feel like being a best-selling author kind of gets me like both. So like I'm going to go with best-selling author because I feel like it's the best, like I just get more out of it. You know what I mean? Anyway, next up, someone said really good spice with an okay plot or really good plot with an okay spice. 1000% I'm going with a really good plot with okay spice over like good spice over plot because honestly, I'm not here for the spice. I'm 1000% here for the plot. I like the spice, but honestly, if there was more spice and less plot, I wouldn't enjoy the spice as much. So I very much do need plot over any sort of spice whatsoever. Like I have some amazing 5-star books that are like literally like fade to blacks or like very, very minimal spice whatsoever. And like I have no issue with that whatsoever. So I'm going with plot all the way. Anyway, next up, someone said, be sucked into the book world at random or have a random character come out at you. Either I have to go into the book randomly or randomly a character comes out to the book. The thing is, it says a random character. So like, what if it's a character I don't like? I feel like that wouldn't be the best experience. Like literally, like what if like the murderer comes out or what if like literally the one character I'm not vibing with comes out? Like what the hell am I going to do with them? So I feel like I'd much rather be sucked into the book world at random than have a random character come out at me. I feel like it would just be for more of a fun experience, Anyway, next up, someone said, be let down by a high-rated book or spoil a book by seeing posts on social media. The thing is, I don't really mind getting spoiled for books. I spoil books for myself all the time. Like sometimes if a book is giving me anxiety and I'm like, oh, I don't know where this is going to go. Like I really need to like know how it's going to play out. I'll spoil it for myself. I'll literally go to the last page while I'm like at the first half of the book just to make sure I like where this is going. So I really don't mind spoiling. Like if I see something online, like I'm never bothered if something ends up being a spoiler that comes up on my For You page or something like that. Like I'll Google spoilers. I'll ask people to spoil books for me. So 100% I would not mind being spoiled or being let down by a highly rated book. So yeah, that is that. Next up, someone said ebooks or audiobooks. The thing is that I don't read ebooks ever, so I'm going with audiobooks. Very easy to answer that one. Next, someone said, your books always have your least favorite trope or you never read your favorite trope again. Your books always have your least favorite trope or you never read your favorite trope again. I would go with never reading my favorite trope again. And my reasoning for that is because if one of the books has a trope that I absolutely hate, it honestly can ruin the book for me. But there are so many amazing tropes out there. So even like, let's say like Grumpy Sunshine is my favorite trope of all time. Like I don't really know what is my like number one favorite trope, but let's say that was my favorite trope. There are so many other things that could happen in a book that I absolutely love and I could live without the like Grumpy Sunshine. So I feel like I'd rather just like never see my absolute favorite trope again ever in my life than always having like a trope that literally can possibly ruin the book for me. So yeah, I feel like that was kind of easy to answer. Anyway, next up, someone said, date a brother's best friend or your best friend's brother. One second, date a brother's best friend or your best friend's brother. Okay, let's think about this. My brother's best friend, my brother's best friend or my best friend's brother. I feel like I would go with dating my brother's best friend. Just think about how much better of like a scenario that is. Like, you have a brother, which I don't have a brother, so this is like very fictional in my head, but like, let's say I had a brother and his friends always came over to the house. Like, the brother would always be looking at me, and like, I'd be in my own element while I am staring at my brother's best friends. Over, I have to go to my best friend's house and then stare weirdly at her brother and make her uncomfortable. I feel like having a brother's best friend is such a better move. Also, I feel like your brother can so much easily forgive you than like, you know, you going behind your best friend's back. So yeah, dating your brother's best friend is so much of a better experience. So I'm definitely going with that one. Anyway, someone said, read at day or read at night. So the thing is that I read all of the time, and I don't really mind one way or another. Like, I'm a really big fan of reading like at all hours of the day, but I will say that I do think that reading at night is a much better vibe. Like, just think about like the idea of being in bed late at night, like literally 3, 4 a.m. Everyone is sleeping and you are just so deep into a book you can't put it down. I feel like it is such an experience. It's such a fun experience. So I feel like I'm gonna go with reading at day is a better vibe than reading at night, but happens to be I like reading at all times of the day. So that is my answer. Anyway, let's do just a couple more because I feel like I've been here for a while. So Lilo or Kabalawe or Razy, I totally said that wrong, but it's basically Lily and Lo, Connor and Rose, or Daisy and Reich. And this is 3. It's not a this or that. So I'm just going to tell you the order that I like them in. Lily and Lo, then Daisy and Reich, then Connor and Rose. So those are the 3 couples in the Addicted/Calloway universe, and that is the order in which I like them the most. Anyway, someone said be abducted by aliens or kidnapped by the mafia. Honestly, I am not so into aliens, so I'm definitely going with being kidnapped by the mafia. What an interesting experience that would be. Next up, someone said, read at the beach or read on the couch. The thing is, I'm not a fan of the beach. I have a lot of OCD. I'm not a fan of the ocean. I don't like the idea of sand. So I definitely would go with the reading on the couch over reading at the beach. But if you swap out beach for a pool, then I 1000% will be sitting at a pool over sitting at my couch. So yeah, that is that. Next up, someone said blonde or brunette. I'm definitely going with brunette. I'm not a huge fan of blondes. Someone said first person POV or third person POV. Definitely first person. It's funny because third person used to not bother me, especially when I was reading fantasy like very heavily, but now I can hardly wrap my head around it. Like, if there's a third person POV like book, I will try to read it via audio instead because it makes it like so much easier for my brain to process it. Like, literally, like third person POV, it's so crazy how like now I can hardly stand that sort of writing style. So 100% first person POV. Someone said, read the last chapter in a book first or watch the movie before reading the book. Read the last chapter in a book first or watch the movie before reading the book. The thing is, if I watch a movie first, I'm probably not going to be able to go and read the book afterwards. Like, I already like saw the movie, and even though they changed a lot of stuff, like I have a really hard time going backwards and reading the book. So I feel like I much rather read the last chapter in the book first, also because like I don't mind spoiling myself, so I really wouldn't care to read the last chapter first. So yeah, that is my answer. Okay, let's do a few more, because these are a lot of fun. Favorite books turned into a movie or favorite movie turned into a book. Favorite book turned into a movie or favorite movie turned into a book. One more time. Favorite book turned into a movie or your favorite movie turned into a book. I feel like I'd have to go with favorite book turned into a movie because like I don't really like the idea of them taking a movie and then like trying to like expand it into a book, even though I'm really not a big fan of adaptations. Like, in theory, I would choose my favorite book being turned into a movie, but I feel like they usually mess it up. So I'm very like iffy going out and saying that. But in theory, if they would make it absolutely perfect and I have no issues with like the adaptation, I would 100% take my favorite book and turn it into a movie. Next up, someone said, lose your place every time you read a book or get a paper cut every time you read a book. I absolutely hate paper cuts, so I'm definitely going with like losing your place because I'd much rather just like have to spend a minute to find it than get a paper cut. Oh my God, I'm literally like getting cringe just by thinking about that. Anyway, let's do one more. So never be able to read new books or never be able to reread a book. Never be able to read a new book or never be able to reread a book. So I either would have to reread forever or I would never be able to reread a book. oh my God, because what if I absolutely love a book and I literally want to reread it so badly? I would never be able to do that. But then I don't want to live with only having to ever be able to reread a book. So I feel like I would go with never being able to reread a book, because I feel like if I really absolutely loved it, I can just try to replay it in my head. Even though that wouldn't work perfectly, I feel like that is a better scenario than never being able to read something brand new ever again. So yeah, that is it. I'm gonna stop here. There were so many. I literally just want to keep going, but honestly, this video is already like 20 something minutes long. So we are going to stop here. This was a ton of fun. If you enjoyed watching it, then please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and let me know if you want me to do this again or do something similar to this. Leave me some suggestions down below of, like if you want me to, make a different type of video like this, because honestly, I would love some ideas because I really loved doing this. So that is that. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. And anyway, yeah, that is it. So until next time, enjoy reading.